Hello and welcome back to the LPL playoffs, and we are on match point right now. RNG have stepped off their throne and they're looking to beat someone down, and by someone I mean TOP, because that last game, there was barely any last game, it was all over at that laning phase. Now, question coming into this one is TOP, do you have anything left? And if you do, what does it look like?
Ooh. So for me, I think they need to take away something that RNG has been running through the entire series. I feel like RNG after Asian Games has been revolving their entire ban pick phase after the linchpin of Gragas. You know, the Kindred goes well with it. It's a good protection, and we've seen the basic structure of the ban pick be one side take the Braum and the other side take the Gragas for the playmaking potential.
Yep.
Now, I actually think you can disrupt RNG quite heavily if you do take that away and try to take away some of their early aggressive jungle picks as well.
Yeah. And one thing I think TOP has been failing on is having control through mid lane and playing through mid lane this series. They haven't had that problem throughout the regular season, and throughout the last series, it's actually been Corrin that's been excelling, and you've been able to free him. It hasn't been happening here. And one of the major reasons or problems coming out of it is that TOP would play through top lane, and they would get that advantage. But a counter gank would come through from MLXG later on and would upset the advantage that you would get. RNG would go through bottom lane in this game. They'd essentially rescue the deficit that Uzi had initially. And so now you're having problems where you would get leads, but because RNG is recommitting back to the fight, they would have more members because their mid laner is able to come through mode first. Xiaohu has more control. That's what they need to be able to answer first. Deal with Xiaohu, free Corrin, and move as a squad.
Yeah, now TOP have selected blue side, not going to be subbing anyone in, so no one-trick Urgot coming into the top lane, no Lies into the roster. Yeah, he's going to be the bench warmer on this one, but yeah, RNG, they're going to be looking towards Uzi as the big carry. On the opposite side, you're right, I want to see the big showdown. I want to see Korn, who's gotten all the resources out from TOP, face down Uzi in the bottom lane, put him on an assassin, and just hope for the best at this point.
You might not see Galio coming out of this game. Two of the last games were decided essentially by the Galio pick, denying a lot of the fights if you lose out in your early game. So I would expect TOP perhaps to ban out Galio and force perhaps a Irelia versus LeBlanc matchup. I think Corrin played super well on the LeBlanc last series. Even though they didn't win that game, he was the outstanding performer.
Yeah, but we're talking about so many bans that TOP have to think about. The Kaisa, the Rise, I don't think those are going anywhere.
Aatrox
as well. And then the Galio, like they don't have enough bans to actually fix the situation. So in that scenario, and you're going blind pick, you have to pick your strongest champions for you. And I actually agree with you. If Corrin is going to go out, I want to see him go out in a blaze of glory. He did really well with the LeBlanc against Alessandro last time that he played against Xiaohu, and on a champion that can play make, that can make picks on his own. I really want to see them focus with a strong jungler pick. I know that XX has had trouble. He's went for something that's more sustainable on the Sejuani, but he really needs to step it up and play a high-risk jungler.
Maybe the Camille. Go back onto the Camille pick. I know they had problems in game one, but my major issue, and I'm talking about Corrin picking up the LeBlanc, is that TOPL losing focus for one specific lane that they can dogpile on. It happened in game 2 where they can go towards the Camille on the top side of the map, and maybe that's something you go back to, but with how quickly RNG is moving bottom lane, it's a game of speed right now. So I feel like trying to hit mid lane first, get back on towards the Camille, give Corrin that LeBlanc. I know sometimes it's too easy to slap that bandit and say pick and ban, but right now they're getting outskilled on the map as a team. Individually, I think that would be a good ban.
Yeah, that's the big point, is because they're being outskilled in the game itself. So coming out of the draft, it's like, okay, great, either we won it or we went even, but we need the ability to be able to play up. If you just have like a tank in the mid lane or something that's like a control mage, it's like, great, we can perform well, get out of laning phase, get towards the mid game, but unless you actually facilitate Korn to make these big plays, that's going to be the difference maker. We're going to send it over to our casters to get us into potentially our final game of the evening.
Thank you very much, guys, and we're here raising our koalas, getting ready for Champion Select of Game 4, where RNG are currently at match point. TOP look strong in Games 1 and 2, but Game 3 there were no match for the full force of RNG, and already the bans have come through for the first phase. Akali, Alistar, and Swain, the same 3 bans that have come out the entire series for RNG.
Yes.
Rakan, Rise, and Kaisa banned up by TOP. This time, though, they take Aatrox and give away Uzi's Champion of Varus.
Yeah, so this time they pick the Aatrox in the top lane. Something that they would have acknowledged after the last game is that the Aatrox was not being banned by RNG on the red side at all. So they know that they'll get that for themselves, and they'll pick the Vladimir once again with it, not against it. So they have the capabilities of flexing that between mid and top lane as they desire. Now they've revealed their solo lane, as you would have to assume. Moving through the rest of this draft, we'll have to see how this rounds out because they have just gone quick.
Very quick drafts coming out from TOP. They know exactly what they want. Vladimir as well as Camille were locked in as their final picks for the first draft phase. Whereas for RNG, we have the Gragas being picked up very early again. That's probably going to be Ming's support of choice, but it can be cast as champion.
So
Let Me can take it to the top lane.
There's a couple of things that need to be considered here for TOP moving into the second ban phase. Galio's a big pick. If they want it, they have to kind of be very cautious of the fact that Xiaohu could then pick it first. They are on red side RNG, so they get the first priority of their mid lane pick if that's what they're going to do. As it stands, I agree with what the analyst desk said. Champions like Galio need to be considered right now for TOP, and they've got the potential of the combo. But man, that's such a big risk to leave it open.
It is, but let's see how they play this one out. For RNG, it's not going to be Gragas support again. It's going to be Tahm Kench picked up in the bottom lane. A few teams have shied away from the champion now that 8.16 has hit his Devour quite heavily. He can no longer save allies as frequently. It does get half of its cooldown when you use it against an enemy, so you can be more offensive in the bottom lane with the champion.
I mean, it hits him hard, but it doesn't seem to mean all that much for Tahm Kench in competitive. The first Devour is all that matters in the end, and that's what they're after, so they'll be able to save Uzi once, and that's the big deal. Gragas, of course, now not going to be in the support role for Ming, but still available in the composition, playing directly into RNG's wheelhouse. Their strength since Asia Games, having that engage source that can also double up as disengage to empower their AD as they so need.
Final bans coming here, though, Rusty, as Cho'Gath and Ornn get taken away from Let Me once again. TOP are constantly banning out his tanks to the top lane.
He's got it too.
But he's got it. He's ready to go. The Crabman is back. Let Me takes him into the top lane.
We get to see what TOP will pick in response to this one. You know that it's an Aatrox or a Vladimir in that lane, most likely, so that's where we'll have to reveal the flex, even the potential of Taric here currently perhaps into that Urgot. Now, if you're wondering why Urgot's picked, just think of him as AD Rumble, and that's all you really need to know.
But it's a curious time for Urgot to be picked up a little bit more. That's a Jax being thrown up against it. Is it going to be a Jax thrown up against it? Is it going to be Jax in the jungle?
Is that a Vladimir bottom?
Who knows where any of these picks are going for TOP? They're throwing the kitchen sink and more at RNG.
We'll have to wait till they finish the draft. I assume it'll be a support for Cat. He was looking at the Zillion. He's looking at the Fiddlesticks now.
The Zillion champions, but Fiddlesticks is the one that he goes for.
So Fiddlesticks, an ex-champion in the bottom lane. We've seen Jax bottom. We've seen Vladimir bottom. I'm sure Aatrox could do it if he wants. So we know that Chelchel was the innovator of the majors. A couple of our bot laners have taken to it very quickly. Chelchel was one of those.
This is where we go, 3D chess. We put Fiddlesticks in the jungle. Camille supports with Jax.
If you like losing 3D chess, I think that's a very viable option.
Never
for you,
played.
Fish.
Too difficult. But Syndra gets locked in for RNG as Xiaohu's mid lane pick of choice. Now we get to see where TOP are putting their champions. It makes sense that it would be Vladimir as the bottom lane pick.
Yeah, Vladimir's the most likely one to be down in that lane. Aatrox in the mid lane is against a Syndra this time around. Syndra, of course, full awareness of what he will be playing against, was locked in last by RNG. Good for the composition, but also decent for the laning phase, being a ranged champion that can last hit with a low cooldown spell. Moyu is the one who has chosen the Jax in the top lane against the Urgot. Something that I would say as the matchup goes, the Counter-Strike does negate a lot of damage and provides him with close quarters combat strengths. So for the matchup, it'll be decent for the Urgot early, but you can always see the strengths of a Jax in that 1v1.
He's got the ways to close the distance and deal not only damage over time, but good burst damage as well. But we've seen Urgot crop up a lot during playoffs here, and you were one of the people taking to Twitter today, and I know there were quite a few other people who are questioning why the LPL is picking up Urgot so frequently. Yes, he's AD Rumble, but doesn't quite explain why he's becoming so popular.
And we'll get much more into detail on Urgot as we do get onto the riff for this game, because right now RNG on match point have selected the champion. They've gone for the Syndra with it as well, the burst composition. If they can kill one member of their opposing team, then the game starts to snowball. The team fight at the very least starts to snowball in their favor. But for Topsports Gaming being 1-2 down, they've got the win. They found the recipe for success, and it was a Camille in the top lane this time around. They've picked a carry once again in top, but the Camille's in the jungle role, and that was where they lost that first game.
That's
He had
where
a very rough
XX looked
showing.
shaky.
Yeah.
He looked very shaky in that first game.
Definitely did. So hopefully he can find himself once again. They've had some time to go backstage and readdress the issues, perhaps solve them coming forwards.
XX was the man that we said needs to step up, needs to be the carry for TOP, like he has so many times before. If he wants to bring this to match point for TOP and take it to Game 5 where it's do or die to advance, this is TOP's time, and it's a must-win series for TOP. A loss here against RNG, no matter what the score, means their run for this season is over.
Yes, they cannot even make the gauntlet if they get eliminated here, I believe. So for TOP, dire straits to say the least, but match point for RNG as they come into Game 4.
It's a difficult task for TOP if they want to try and take it to the MSI champions of RNG, but they've already done it once in their Best of 5. Let's see if they can send us to Game 5 as we get onto the Rift for map number 4. LGD! No LGD yet because Corn's in a lot of trouble. Casa. Oh, that's a flash 49. It's ticking and ticking
That's
and
not gonna
ticking.
do enough.
Not quite.
At level 1, it was the potion used by Korn, though, so the recall has to come across. Think about the time in the game as well, 1 minute and 15 seconds if he chooses to recall and doesn't have teleport. He'll miss a large chunk of the first wave.
He will.
That's such a big risk from RNG's mid laner, though. You flash forwards to ignite and get an auto attack off at level 1, and it doesn't kill the target. I mean, TOP, you just put a big mark on your head for their jungler to come at you.
Yep. And Corn still has both his summoner spells available as well. Yes, it will take him some time to be in a position to fight Xiaohu now. But when he is, XX can fly into that mid lane. That's an easy way for him to gank.
But speaking of XX, what's he doing?
He's level 1.
He's level 1. He hasn't started his buff. He's waiting for 2 minutes to do the Scuttle Crab.
Okay.
That's the name of the game here for him.
Well, meanwhile, Caster's just getting further and further ahead.
Yeah, and I guess when you look at it, you know, a Camille that's level 1 maybe not feeling too comfortable doing a big objective in terms of, you know, that you'll lose a lot of health for that. This is a free-to-take objective.
Does he hit 2 off of it?
Yes,
he does.
He always does.
So he gets towards level 2, and he's going straight towards mid lane.
No summoners on Xiaohu. What better way to play it? It's a flash Camille with hook shot up.
Flash.
Look at the way Xiaohu's posturing, though. He doesn't want to go to the top side.
Yeah, that's very smart play coming out from Xiao. You can see that Korn is playing towards that side of the map as well. Good first stun and a great flash from XX as well. Korn jumps in. Easy. First blood picked up by TOP.
Yeah, no matter how much you respect the direction, he was still going to be in trouble with the distance that you can cover as a Camille. They lock him down. They get first blood. Very well done here from TOP in the expected play, but with the expected result on top of that, where there's no counter really there for Xiaohu.
Ooh, missing that cannon there, Uzi. Not going to be too happy about that, but RNG's bottom side of the map doing well. You're right, no counter coming up, but Casa has been able to find XX. Level 2 at the moment. Gragas is taking it to him. Hookshot's going to get him back to safety. Casa does have flash to follow through, but will settle for all the counter jungling he's going to be able to get done.
And we spoke towards what happens at level 1. We saw a Camille at the enemy red buff walk towards Scuttle Crab, not even take an objective, and then ganks mid at level 2 without any buffs. Casa sees that. Casa immediately goes towards your red and says, "Where are you?" Finds him, gets the objective, gets the Raptors, and look at the difference in farm between these junglers. That was such a big gamble that XX chose to take. And whilst the kill was there, and whilst that snowballs the mid lane, Casa is a smart enough player to get that back against you. And we'll see this kill in the mid lane as well. Nice little flash forwards.
Very aggressive coming out from TOP, and that's why XX chose to sacrifice so much of his resource. Get the gank going in the mid lane very early for Korn. Korn picked up first blood as well, so a Kindle Gem is complete for him. Very nice item to have very early on. XX is only now picking up his second camp. Just took down blue buff.
And all I can really say at the end result of that is, what better time in a series to put all of the eggs into the Korn basket as top lane? He's not going to get the stun.
And XX is still level 2 here, Rusty.
Yeah.
He just went from Scuttle Crab to gank. Straight back to base because Casa knocked him out of the jungle. Picked up blue buff. And straight back towards the top lane. XX is a ganking machine at the moment. And it's costing him a lot. He's 20 CS behind Casa. A full level behind Gragas as well.
I mean, he's not having a good time on Summoner's Rift, and Let Me still controlling the 1v1 as the got into the Jax. So that gank in top lane, was it worth it? Probably not at all.
So tell me about this, Rusty. We've seen, you know, Urgot being a lot more popular recently, specifically in the LPL, and specifically on 8-16 in playoffs.
Yeah, everyone's become an Urgot main in the LPL in the top lane at the moment. A couple of things for it. The first one you have to consider is that he wins lane most of the time. Not a lot of matchups can actually handle him. We already spoke towards what a Jax could potentially do. And whilst that's absolutely the case, that a Jax can maybe hold him, especially at a single item spike moving past that point, Urgot is ranged, controls the lane. Nice little fear there onto Uzi to disengage it. We're looking mid right now.
Castle just going for some damage. Ooh, good damage on towards Korn. That Ignite is gonna tick down, and Taka goes. And Xiaohu gets the kill.
RNG pick themselves up a trade in the middle lane. Casa utilizing the lead that he has. XX is going to do his best to just hold the wave, maybe get the experience. You can see that RNG, they know how far ahead they are.
Want this. They're going to go towards it. Gets the stunner towards XX on top of the wall. Gets knocked down. A couple more attacks would be enough. The Dark Spear waits for the shield to wear off as well.
And Xiaohu gets a blue buff. So he's going to take that away from XX, and things have gone from bad to worse here for TOP. Through this middle lane, a place where they had strength, Xiaohu picks up 2. And suddenly Xiaohu is well and truly in the lead in this lane.
That's not even a creative play. That is RNG flexing on TOP. Straight through mid lane both times. Jungler was on full vision. They knew exactly what was coming, and they still couldn't stop the freight train of RNG.
I mean, we said it earlier in the set as well. You put in Casa against XX and the style, oh my god.
Arrow to 2 knees at that point as TOP. Cat and Chulch get knocked down to 100 hit points. An extra auto attack is all it would have taken. No summoner spells being forced out of Uzi, none being forced out of Mig, just dominating the 2-on-2.
Yeah, they just control their lane. They just handle their lane. The CS difference between the bottom lane is significant. And so much of this comes back to the point that we're just going to make about Casa. You put in a good cerebral jungler. You put in a slow-paced but smart jungler against XX. You can see the style shift right now in this matchup between the two of them. And that's why Casa is likely better against MLXG. XX took risks in this game. He went for big gambits. And because they paid off a small amount, Casa had all this time to play around him and counter him. That's what he does. He had time. He made the play.
And it's paid off. RNG are sitting quite far ahead of TOP in match 4. This is match point for RNG to send them into the semifinals. All they have to do is take down TOP, who had a fantastic summer split, don't get me wrong. Xiaohu's about to pop Cat. Goodbye. Ooh.
He doesn't have enough damage yet. There was no Ignite available either, so if he had Ignite, Cat was dead.
See, cool guys do look at explosions. Don't just walk away. Even I thought that he was going to die. Level 5 Fiddlesticks, very squishy. No health items being picked up yet.
I mean, it's close. It's not quite the one hit that you're looking for, but moving forwards, you know that it will well and truly be there. And for Fiddlesticks, waiting for 10 minutes in the game to get the activation on that stopwatch. The only time he'll have counterplay to the likes of Xiaohu. Maybe if the Aftershock is able to be procced during the time as well, get some resistances. It'll help him through surviving in exactly that.
Will be around the time of his first ultimate, unless he uses it very soon. So that will help out Cat quite a bit, jumping into a fight, getting good damage down. Yep. The base damage from Fiddlestick's ultimate matters a lot for level 6, level 7.
For a second, I thought Casa was just going to walk into the lane and have presence, and him being there might be something of a power play towards the outer turret. First turret in the game. Still on the cards here, and as RNG go through their 2v2 laning, it'll be the place where it goes down first. That's what you're looking at here. RNG, very easy for them to just play bot side, play towards their strength, and Uzi's always their strength.
It is. And Uzi's having such a good laning phase at the moment. Ooh, Chok getting a bit hypey there. Throws out the ultimate, but Ming was already able to put Uzi back inside his belly, keep him safe.
Varus also able to put the E down, deny healing from that Hemo Plague, so feeling good for himself once again as the Varus in the 2v2. Chok used that just to get health back and clear away. It's not looking too good for the Vladimir right now in this 2v2. That was desperate. And that desperation continues.
Yeah. 54 CS to 89 CS, and RNG are repeating what they did in the last match, sending everyone bottom lane. Tom Kench coming through as well. Everyone's piling in. Cat tries to flash away, but that flash was for naught. As Uzi gets another kill for RNG.
The Chocho survives. Shahu saved the ultimate looking for the Vladimir, but is able to get away with a lot of bonus move speed, thankfully, from being in the puddle, the blood puddle. And he gets himself to safety, but this turret is going to go down. They'll even give the solo gold to Uzi once he stops tanking the turret.
As with everything, Rusty, RNG are just used to it. Give everything to Uzi. He's almost double the CS of Chocho.
If it wins you international tournaments, Fish, there's no reason to change that at all. RNG don't need to reinvent the wheel here. They can just continue to play good standard League of Legends that is known and that works for them every single time. TFP are the ones that have to do something different, and Cat is he's going to put his best foot forwards here and look towards Let Me, but he doesn't have a Jax, so not sure what his plan is.
See what they can do. Let Me still holding on to Ignite thanks to his unsealed spellbook.
Man.
Fear's going to come through. Moyu's going to jump back in, but Let Me says, sure, I'm happy to take this fight if you want.
Yeah, that's not ideal. That is a point past desperation, I think it's fair to say. I got one of those champions. We mentioned already, he doesn't really lose lanes. So he's got a very strong laning phase. He's matched the Jax quite evenly. You can see 95 to 91, and that was with jungler presence up there as well. He's doing quite well for himself, Let Me.
Yep.
He can also go the unsealed spellbook build and has gone towards Ignite. So doesn't go towards the teleport as his primary unless he's switched over to Ignite.
I believe he switched over.
I think he had teleport originally and switched to Ignite.
Which makes sense. Last few patches, teleport got nerfed. If you can run unsealed spellbook, it's a big advantage in the top lane.
Well, the thing that it gives you is that you can teleport after the fact anyway. They are diving Xiaohu.
Yeah, diving very deep as well. Xiaohu going to take a lot of damage, but he blows up XX before he falls. Korn is going to be knocked into his passive of the ultimate, trying to get away from this one. Lemmy's going to charge on through. Priority coming out from Urgot. It's just way too strong. Ming gobbles up Cat. Trying to get that kill there for Casa, throws out the barrel, picks it up, donated over by RNG support.
Even gifting the kill to Casa. What more could you possibly want here from RNG? They're looking clean, they're looking fantastic, and they even do it as countermeasures. Let Me in the right place at the right time. Doesn't need to teleport into the fray this time, but also has the Ignite that he could use. The unsealed spellbook coming in handy. Chocho in an attempt to defend the turret.
Throws out his ultimate, so we get a lot of health back from this. Tongue Lash is good. Chocho forced to flash away as Ming says, see you, mate. We're going towards the top lane.
Yeah. Good cookbook. Here's a lane they've prepared earlier. Uzi takes the turret down. RNG, once again, they grow the lead even further.
Uzi's going to be a happy man. This entire time RNG were fighting and being dove and skirmishing. Free pushing top lane, free CS for Uzi. Taking turrets by himself as well.
And Xiaohu, of course, gets locked down there because he used the stun to try and clear the wave. So he's just going to get ignited. He's going to get taken apart. Let Me use the ultimate to try and find Camille. But he's got enough damage here. You can see the Ignite to follow that one up. Easy as you'd like in the 1v1. And then good guy Ming, the true support, knows that Cast is coming. He's got the Predator. He's really feeling it. You don't even get to see it. He died.
So does Xiaohu, as he just gets taken down there, but Casa still reckons he can pick this fight. Let Me's right behind them and just pops him.
That's a fragile cat.
It's a Fiddlesticks.
Yeah, he's going to get taken apart, and the trade's going to be there against Xiaohu's the only one having a bad day. Perfect game for RNG besides the middle lane at the moment.
Feeder. Bench him, puts a tie in instead.
I have a feeling Zatai would also die in that situation.
Don't you talk bad about him.
I mean, he's a top laner.
No. He's mid. He played mid in this series. Don't you forget?
This is the most pointless argument that I'm not going to have with you right now.
Okay. Haven't seen too much from Let Me just yet. He's doing fine in lane. Has his stopwatch available. Did use the Ignite that he swapped over to from Unsealed Spellbook. He's actually
switches to heal, yeah.
Swapped his flash out for heal. He still has his flash up and available, by the way.
Oh, does he?
Yep.
My assumption is that he didn't have it, but he's
I thought he had it. From what I remember, he still had his flash. I could be wrong.
Why not?
I mean, you can use it, wait 5 seconds, and then flash.
Yeah, he needs the teleport more than he does the flash if he's not going to be grouping up. But he's walking down lane, so he doesn't necessarily need the teleport. However, he is here. He's here to help. And if you look at RNG's composition, a thing that we haven't mentioned is Urgot and Syndra is the perfect duo. Syndra can pretty much remove the entire health bar of a character, and Urgot with the ultimate will get that execute. That gives RNG the free kill from 25%.
Double stun. Cat's forced to use his stopwatch. There's a lockdown Aatrox. Korn can't go anywhere. Gets knocked into the passive of his ultimate right away. RNG are still pushing through. Xiaohu from downtown picks up the kill with his own
14 minutes
ultimate.
in the game.
They're pushing. They want Dancing Herald, Rusty.
They are still pressing forwards. They're stancing in front of the inhibitor. They want another charge from this Herald for certain.
Are they going to get it, Corns?
I can't believe how early we are for them to do this.
Wait, Corn's 18 seconds away. RNG could push for this. Ty's going to take a lot of damage. RNG are pushing through. No response coming up from TOP just yet. They want to try and take this down. Moy's going to jump in straight away. They caught out XX. Taking a lot of damage. Using the XX ultimate. He's going to fall. Cho diving into the back lines. All by himself. He's dead. What the heck? You've got to be kidding me. Are RNG going to end right here? No way.
RNG are just smurfing in this game. They're looking.
They're pushing for it. RNG are pushing towards the turret. Corn, 1-0 attack away from dying. Gets taken out. Triple kill. Can he get the Quadra? Going towards him. Casa gets it instead. But on top of TOP's face.
Here comes the super. They're going to try and end the game right now. There's death timers that are very short, but at 15
minutes. You've got to be
minutes.
kidding. It was close for the first 2 matches. TOP, they really took it to RNG. But 15 minutes in, RNG take it, and they're going to the semifinals. They just tore apart TOP. It was not even close anymore.
I cannot believe what I just saw. This is a playoffs quarterfinals, and they just won in 15 minutes against one of the best teams in the league.
Look, they brought out the raid boss for Game 3, Rusty, but they turned it on to legendary difficulty for Game 4. That was near impossible for TOP to have any sort of a fighting chance against RNG. And 15 minutes, you've got to be freaking kidding me.
I mean, this isn't even first, last in the standings. This is playoffs teams. RNG come back from Asia Games. They drop a game to JD. They drop a game today, but then they bring back Casa, Letme, and Uzi. And this team of 5 can win a game that handily. This feels like they are smurfing in the playoffs of the LPL. Can anyone stop this team?
Well, look out, because RNG, the playoff buff, so strong at the moment, Rusty. I mean, we said it best. First 2 games, sure, TOP came out swinging with the substitute, effectively the substitute roster of RNG playing. It's their best time to pick up games. They failed in Game 1. It should have been TOP's game. They succeeded in Game 2. Out comes the raid boss, and completely different story for this quarterfinal match.
I mean, Summer Games done quick just came early. That was speedrunning of the LPL. I've never seen something. That's just insane.
You've got to save the animals at that point because TOP needed some saving. But how? 15 minutes?
I mean, at the end of the day, RNG do win, Fish, and congratulations are deserved for them, whilst it's very shocking in how they won. They have earned their place against Rogue Warriors.
10,000 gold ahead. They find a single pick, and that single pick translates into a fight underneath TOP's Nexus turrets. And TOP couldn't fight back. They couldn't hold.
They have just made one of the best teams in the LPL look like the absolute fools, the jokesters of the league. RNG show that this is the kind of performance, man. I hope everyone in the rest of the world's watching RNG right now and they're shaking in their boots.
I mean, to put it this way, Tomcash did more damage than 4 players from the side of TOP, but that's enough from us to break down this entire series. Let's send it back to the analyst desk.
Hello, 911. I'd like to report a murder on Summoner's Rift. That was 15 minutes. Went backstage and I was ready to eat a sandwich, and I didn't get to eat that sandwich. So the game was done.
That was the fastest LPL game to be played in 2018, and it happened in a playoffs. Now, for me, like, the biggest thing that really happened right there was after the first risky play that came out from Camille, the level 2, where he started on a scuttle just to make sure he had enough HP to go into a potential 2v2 in mid, and then he went towards his Raptors. He found Karsa right there, was already waiting. That was the moment I was like, uh-oh, man, I think this game is over. Because right after that, Camille was forced away back to his own base, and Karsa quadrupled the amount of CS he had over Camille on the early rotation, and they had a losing bot lane, a losing top lane, and they had no way to save it.
And there's a reason why TOP has the quickest average loss time in the league. It's not because also some of the quickest win time, but that's because they actually continue to push in. They're not the team that actually tries to wait until opportunities arise. They try and force a fight. They try and look for desperate situations. The one that you were calling to is the fact that, you know what, Camille not CSing because she had tried for so many ganks and losing matchups too, so they didn't have lasting impact. So not being able to farm for level 6 was really impactful for her. It was just a go-ahead for Karsa to be able to farm up and actually place down more impactful control wards to leave these lanes in a pretty proper position. And then you see it at a Cat, which was in a losing lane. He goes top lane and see if he can find something top lane. Nothing. He just loses his ultimate.
Yeah.
They know that the support is now top side, and the RNG looks all the way towards the bottom lane so that they not only take full control of mid lane outer turret, but then they're like, okay, well, we just have full focus here. We'll try and repel that in about 1 minute. They just went tower after tower because of these
Yeah, it was doubling down on players over and over and over again,
Yes.
and then even on a microcosm within the final team fight as well. It was just like, well, let's keep going at them and see how it turns out, and then the game ends.
Yeah, I want to talk about the ban picks because I think a lot went wrong for TOP straight off the bat. If you look at Aatrox and Vladimir, this was likely a top and mid switch, but what happened was then RNG had a trump card. They unveiled their trap, and it was the Urgot pick, which does well into both the Vladimir and the Aatrox. So now TOP are in a panic. They're going like, wait a minute, where do we actually put the Vladimir anymore? And they said, well, we have to get a matchup that we can snowball in the top lane for Moryu, and Moryu goes on the Jax. And then suddenly Chocho has to go on to Vladimir, which is a horrible matchup into the Vladimir. And Vladimir was already shown to them. The healing reduction coming out from the lane, the extra poke coming out from the lane. There's no way that that lane actually survives. But TOP, in a panic, they were willing to sacrifice their bot lane just for a chance for snowballing at the top. And when neither really works, the entire thing just collapses.
It's interesting because I know that a few teams, in fact, the most picked counter matchup, or at least matchup that people are fine with, is picking Vladimir into the Urgot, only because they'll say we'll somehow survive out of that lane. There's a sustain that you have, and you can find out in team fights. But you're right in the fact that they just overthought this situation, and their bottom lane was a Vladimir Fiddlesticks that just got completely torn apart just in the laning phase and alone. I'm just talking about the skill level. The skill difference between Chocho and Uzi was massive on that one, and then they already gave him a proper lane, so the Varus and Tom Kench, which is your best bottom lane in the meta, was able to tear it apart. So obviously now if you're XX, you don't have CS, you have no control where now Karsa knows where you are in positioning, and your side lanes are losing out. I think he had good pressure mid lane, so the Aatrox was doing well. Congratulations, but it didn't mean enough. So because a lot of the pressure that they now started to funnel throughout the mid lane, much like they did last game, was getting counteracted by RNG's members that were just tunneling in there. It was
literally that. It was like Game 3 just condensed down into Game 4, like even packed in. Because even that was like a 26-minute game. Then we follow up with a 15-minute game, which is insanity. Take a look at the final fight right here. And it was just, again, TOP just throwing themselves at RNG, trying to get them out of their base. And at this point, death times are real low, so you can keep throwing members at them.
The thing is, they're calling on towards TOP's desperation. They didn't have to throw in the Vladimir. They didn't have to fight until the Aatrox comes out. It's essentially RNG standing their ground, much like a BLG would, and say, okay, we'll take this tower. You're going to fight us before your member comes up, so it's a 5v5. All right, there we go. They kept picking people off because TOP kept running at them time and again without the necessary members to actually try and push them off, really.
Yeah, that was the biggest thing. It was one by one. I don't know if you guys have played Lemmings, but that was it. It was just one by one by one. It wasn't a coordinated effort. It was just like, I see an opportunity, I'm going to jump in. They die, and it's like, I'll be fine. I'm up in 15 seconds because it's literally 15 minutes into the game, but members were down. They were taking structure. They pushed up to the next. Xiaohu's going to take our MVP right here. He did die to the mid lane in the first blood, but he killed him back, and that's what counts. He got the final lap.
Yeah, he definitely got the final triple kill to clean the game out, but I actually felt like his performance here was a little bit unsteady. What really held them in the game, I felt, was Karsa's early rotations and his complete domination over the jungle and ensuring that the bot lane would also win out really, really heavily as well.
Yeah, I think Karsa is a counter pick. I feel like you put in Karsa and it's all of the risk taking that comes through from TOP. Just good eye on it. They always know how to play around it. Karsa playing around the known vision wards out there, making it so the lanes are never safe, the side lanes that are. So 100%, I felt like Karsa outplayed the entire matchup. When he came into the series, he had a very phenomenal series. I think Xiaohu will get the MVP because although they sent members towards him, you didn't tilt. Congratulations. You know, you kept it. You kept your mentality upright. So I thought that he played well under the circumstances.
Yeah, untiltable. Let's take a look at the championship points, I should say, coming out of today's matchup. Now, down there, TOP, that's going to be at the end of their run, managed to get themselves 10 points here in summer, but that will be at the end of it. Meanwhile, RNG sat still at the top, 130 points total.
So I just want to see top 3, of course, EDG, Rogue Warriors, RNG, how that ends up going up. Because remember, Rogue Warriors and RNG is going to be the next set that you see.
I don't even think about top 3 because you could be seeing JD actually sneak
That's
in.
true.
So when you're talking about EDG in that top 3, I'm like, wait a minute, you don't know that's actually going to happen. But closing it off on TOP, even if JD Gaming lose tomorrow and they don't get their 10 points, they will still supersede TOP in terms of championship points because they have more net wins. So unfortunately for TOP, this is the end of their 2018 story.
Yes, it is, but it's not the end of many other teams. We take a look at the bracket here as well. Many of the teams have a long ways to go. RNG starting in the quarterfinals now. In the semi-finals, will be taking on Rogue Warriors. That will happen on the 9th. And as you can see, just back-to-back best-of-5s from September 5th all the way through to the end of semi-finals.
True to the words of a playoff gauntlet, you're rolling. So for TOP, congratulations for getting this far. But you're right, RNG in 2 days will go up against Rogue Warriors. And for tomorrow, EDG versus JD, that one's going to be the most competitive match you've seen thus far.
Yeah, that's definitely the most contested one. Personally, I'm leaning a little bit more towards EDG after watching JD Gaming's performance and kind of their struggles a little bit with FPX. But what are your thoughts on that matchup? Because that one's definitely the one that has everyone split in terms of opinions.
I know the producers will not trust me anymore because I just
think anyone does, to be honest.
Yeah, I don't know anymore. I'm going to say I'll give it to EDG on what seems like a cop-out. Because while JDG are a team that has succeeded them time and again in the regular season, going into the playoffs, it feels like they're a better team-fighting team, and that's EDG keeps like falling and slipping over. But it's playoffs, and that's where it comes down to EDG last time around. People didn't expect EDG to go into the finals. They were weak last time, too, in the spring split. But the issue is that certain members came out. And it was Scout that had such an astounding performance in the playoff games. And the same goes to iBoy as well. That these guys can go on that massive stage and can prove their worth. It's a major challenge to JDG's individual players to do the same.
Now, the playoff buff is always going to be a thing. You talk about any of the flagship teams out of any league, you're going to be looking at EDG as well. It took them again to the finals. We see another EDG RNG final. It's like, all right, the script is still here, boys. It's intact. But then the cracks started showing. RNG, first time they actually managed to take down EDG. Coming into summer, the question is, has the cracks turned into just them splitting apart, right? Like EDG, we've seen the problems from them all split long. We saw that massive losing streak all the way through the middle of the split. And then we have JD right here, only looking better and better and better as we accelerate into the quarterfinals.
I think the biggest matchup is going to come down to their jungler, because I think that's where EDG can have the highest highs and the lowest lows at the same time. Clearlove, he's a very limited champion pool. Haro, still a little bit limited in terms of the experience and the shot calling down the stretch. So they're caught between difficult situations, and from what we've seen this split, JD Gaming actually ran them off the map once they got an early game lead. So that jungle matchup between Haro, Clearlove, potentially one of those two against Clid is going to be the big one that I watch tomorrow.
By all means, it feels like just based off the team play alone, and I feel like Clid's outperforming in the regular season, it should be JDG.
Yeah.
But my issue is that when it comes to it, we need to see pressure-wise if Yagao could come out as a superstar, if Loken can do the same, and if Clid can keep consistent. These are these names that I really want to track going into tomorrow's games. Because when it comes to those two teams just clashing heads, I think JDG should do it, and that's why I'm opening up the flip-flopping, all right? We have one day. We have 24 hours. 24 hours. You can keep track of it. See how much I keep swapping over. But for now, I'm going to say it goes to 5 games, and that EDG will.
I mean, Raz, it's about the final 5 minutes when you submit your final prediction.
Oh, yeah.
Not about the 24 hours that leads up to this. It's when you actually lock it in. But no, like you're talking about the individual players, and for me, it's definitely about the individual players. Like if you're looking towards JD, controversial question right here, do they have the better players pound for pound over EDG right now?
Oh, wow.
Because you look at top lane and look how strong Zoom has been individually.
I'd say top side, yes.
Yeah.
I say bot side, no.
I would say with EDG that individual players, I would say they have it. Just because iBoy, first dang split was in Worlds and he came out with incredible plays. And then I think Ray, while there are issues of where the pressure goes and sometimes he gets double teamed in those plays, he's a carry player too. I think he can match with Zoom. I think Zoom is far more consistent and has been in tune with the team's plays. So it always comes down to when it comes to individuals, sure, but it's Season 8, individuality. we'll have to see if EDG can come together as a team.
I mean, just the fact there's a debate over which team is going to take this one. This is EDG that we're discussing right here in the quarterfinals, I think is super interesting. But for now, that was a small preview. We're going to be coming with you at you with that series tomorrow and another best of 5 in our quarterfinals. For now, though, we're going to close out the show on behalf of myself, my analysts, everyone on the English broadcast crew. Thank you so much for watching. We'll see you again tomorrow.